Hi, everybody. I am Blake Cabot. I am the owner of FacePaintcom, and I have the great pleasure of having, for a repeat visit, Elaine Goh, and she is here going to be doing Princess Tiaras and just sort of great kind of flowery, great designs and so this is all in Australia where she is with her daughters. And so we're going to see her daughters. We're going to see her home. And she's a terrific painter. She's been doing this for 8 years. She's been doing it professionally for 5, and we're very excited to have her. So with that, Elaine.
Thanks for having me. Hi, everyone.
Hopefully this didn't just freeze.
This is Charlotte. Okay, so the first one I'm going to paint is like a heart-shaped princess face. Today I'm going to be using mostly the Craze palette. I'm going to start off with this one. I'm not sure about the names because they haven't got names on them.
Yeah, one of the fun facts about this whole webinar thing is that a lot more people are on Zoom than are on Facebook Live these days. So I don't know which one that is either. That's just the Craze face palette.
Okay, so I'm just loading it up. Oops, sorry. Just getting a good load of it. Okay.
Okay, let me, just to make sure that your hand's out of the way if you can, so people can see what you're doing.
Is that better?
A little, yeah, that's perfect. Hey, Zuri. Eileen Grant, 9 weeks of lockdown, week 9. Yeah, I know the feeling. Yep, and Zuri, every time I say your name, Siri goes off. Always an exciting thing.
So with my princess designs, you'll see that I tend to have that sort of round shape over the eyes. I've just, all my years of face painting, I've tried all different kinds of shapes, and I've just found that this shape really complements the look of the face, because it outlines the eyebrows, lifts it up. And when you paint a princess face, or any face design really, you got to think about your focal points. So you got one here in central. I mean, there's plenty focal points, but the ones that I mainly think about with these designs, center focal point. Then you got the ones on the side of the eyes. And then also you got to think, if you're making like a circle, you want it to kind of not come out of that space, because sometimes people have like really high points, but it doesn't make it look round. It just complements the face better when it sort of fits in that shape. Okay, so and then okay, so sorry, the phone is kind of in the way as well.
Hey.
Okay.
Hi, Sandy from California.
Right, so that was in a button 3/4 inch brush. And now I'm going to use a American painter brush, size 1.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of my favorite brushes at the moment. Actually, I've jumped the gun a little bit. I want to do a stencil in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a diva stencil, the heart-shaped one with all the jewels on it.
Mm-hmm. Elaine, there seems to be a problem with the internet. I'm not sure if it's on my side or your side, but it seems to be slow and a little jumpy.
Not sure. The internet here is usually pretty good.
Does it look good on your side?
Can you hear me okay?
Maybe it'll get better. Maybe I'll have my
I'm not sure.
maybe my kids turn off watching a movie for now. Hang on, let me see if that works. Okay.
So I always start, I'm right-handed, so I always start on my weaker side. And it's just what helps me. And I do one side and then the other side. So I don't have to think about what did I just do. Now, sometimes with new face paintings, and I still struggle with it sometimes, you know, I like to have a nice pointy tip here and a pointy tip there, but sometimes it can be quite a struggle, like, you know, if you've got a long way to paint. So I usually would go halfway first and then the other half. So you see I'm pointing, it's not exactly following that line there, but that was on purpose. I wanted to come down underneath this stroke. So, and it's pointing towards that focal point there. And that's that one too. And same with like the really long swirls. Sometimes I'll go halfway as well.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Makes it so much easier. So if I'm a bit not very straight, because I've got to find where my face would normally be.
I think we're seeing, okay. Okay, so we saw the heart. We see the design on it. It's still, the internet's terrible. I tell you this. It's just, it's super slow. And so it's bouncing around a little bit. and I've told my kids to stop watching whatever movie they were watching, but I don't think that's going to help me. I think it may be on your side. I can't swear to it.
Can you see daddies on the internet? Yeah, my husband's not using the internet much.
Okay, so that's not it.
It was all right before, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was okay. It was starting to get laggy when we just about to start, and it was fine, but a second ago. Just running a speed test. Doesn't see any problem. Hi, Nadine.
What happened? I'm really enjoying line work these days.
Yeah?
I think it's because I'm really getting good at line work. Okay, so let me see, something's just popped up.
So on at least the Zoom call, Zoom side, I'm going to put a poll up, find out what people. Interesting.
What I'm doing now, I'm going to do some, so most of the design is done. I'm just going to do some double dip flowers now. And I do a lot of double dip flowers, middle and on the sides a lot in my designs. Because it's easy and it's fast.
What color?
I'm using,
what color white? What color and brand? What? You're using which one?
What do you mean? The white?
What brand of white are you using? Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm using Wolf. Yeah, okay. I still have lots of Wolf left, so I really love Wolf. So with the double dip flowers,
Wolf is great.
I'm using this brush called I'm not sure if you can get that in America or not, but I got it at the Australian Body Art Awards from Looney Bin. And then I'm just gonna dip it in some colors.
Oh, I don't think somebody asked, can you buy the jewel? There's no jewel on this, is there?
There's no jewel, but this is the Diva stencil jewel.
Oh, I see.
Jewel stencil.
Okay, I'll go find it. I'll go find it for you.
Okay.
My teacher said to 14. I don't know.
And then some on the sides now. I love this brush because when you're practicing on the board, most of you know that doing double dips on the boards never really works out very well, but this brush is really good for that. It really keeps its point. So this is the end of design number 1. you know, you can do extra bits like, I did put a bit of eyeshadow on her. You can put some, you know, glitter and chunky glitter on the sides, and jewel in the middle, like one that doesn't really cover that stencil. Or you can just leave that stencil out and just put a jewel there. Many different ways you can do things. I suppose if you using a jewel instead of a stencil, it might save you a little bit more time, you know, on the job. Practice your line work. It'll give you different looks, different effects, or even change the color of the line work. That, or, you know, add some extra flowers here and there. Just gives you different looks. But that's very complimenting. All right, thanks, Charlotte. Isabella, your turn. Isabella?
Yeah, I can't find it on my side or other people's.
The next design we're going to do, hope you can see it, will be something like this. Okay, so firstly we're going to start, I'm going to use this stencil by Diva. It's the Mermaid stencil. Let me see if I can move this up a bit. Because my daughter's pretty tall now.
So this is mermaid scales?
No, just a mermaid design. Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're doing. It's got like a shell and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, like a mermaid princess. You know, any design that goes over the forehead looks pretty. That's a princess design to me.
Yeah, I got it.
Fairy princess or a flower princess, mermaid princess.
On your last thing, what was the brush and the size of it?
The last design.
Is
that what you're saying?
Yes.
I use a flat brush, the Prima brush, 3/4.
Okay, great.
And then I use a size 1 American painter brush. And then I used the Enchanted Magic one. I don't know, it doesn't say anything on that. But it's a petal brush. Okay, let's see.
Okay.
So I'm going to start off with the stencil because that's going to show me my center point.
Interesting.
So I've loaded my brush with a 1-stroke. I brush my my doorbell with a 1-stroke, so you can see the different colors in there. So when you put it on the face, you need to just rotate it. Pretty good. Okay, now I am going to start. Let's see. Now I'm going to use this color from the Craze. You see it? From the Craze palette.
From the Craze Placate palette.
So I'm going to load that, and then what I'm going to do, sorry, I'm using an Aaliyah brush angle shader. This is a half inch brush. So once I've loaded the brush, I'm going to dip just the tip of it in black, just so I don't have to go and outline it again. Maybe a bit more black.
One question came from Dorothy. Do you wet the brush or wet the paint first?
If I'm using one strokes, I never ever spray my one strokes.
Okay.
Because
So you wet the brush.
Sorry, just concentrate.
So
because I make a lot of my own one strokes. Yeah, sorry, because I make a lot of my one strokes, they all have different soft, consistencies. So to spray the one strokes, like it'll make some gluggier, like more wet than I would like it to be. Yeah, I just don't like to make my paints too wet. Okay, so now I'm going to change my brush. I'm going to use back to the 3/4 flat again.
Hi, Kathy.
And if you feel it's a bit too dry, I just dip it just the tip of the brush. Okay. So when I go around, I always envision, okay, that tip of my brush there is going to point to the focal point that I had intended. But it doesn't necessarily have to touch the focal point. Okay. Now I'm going to paint some leaves. We're going to use the layer brush again, but this time I'm going to use a 3/8 brush and angle shader. So same like the other one, but just a slightly smaller one. I'm going to use this green one straight from the Craze palette. And again, I'm going to dip the tip of it in a bit of black.
Okay. I love the fact that I hear birds in the background.
That's my little baby cheeks.
Hi, humor.
And then another one here. Now, you can see there's a bit of a gap in like the paints. I don't really, that doesn't really bother me very much. I mean, it might bother some people, and you can, color it in with the tip of the other tip of your brush. But I find, people's skin tone often blends that green, because leaves are, natural colors, so they have a bit of brown in it. Okay, so now I'm going to do some line work back to my back to my wolf.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to use black this time, and I'm going to use the American painted brush again. Okay, let's see.
I think what's interesting to me is that you start off with a stencil. Most people don't do that. Most people really.
When it comes to, well, it depends on which stencil I'm using and whether I want a background or not. And sometimes, you know, for some of the mermaids, and if I wanted to make it really quick, you don't even have to do this bit on the top. I would just use a one stroke for my stencil color. And it's as though I just painted it on, like I did,
right.
You know, it looks like I would have just painted it on instead of sponged it on.
Some of the internet problems seem to have improved.
Oh, that's good.
So Diana asked, what's your favorite paint and what is your favorite one stroke?
My favorite one strokes, I make a lot of my one strokes, so I don't know. I mean, there's so many awesome colors. I mean, gotta say the craze is pretty good. It's got heaps of different colors that you could use there. But yeah, I started cutting my own paint a long time ago, so I have stacks and literally stacks of one strokes.
As one does. There are a lot of them out there.
I'm really into these drag and drops at the moment. Okay, so now I'm going to finish off again with some double dip flowers, because they always make things look so pretty and they're easy. So I'm just loading up my white on my petal and enchanted petal brush again. Okay, so once I've loaded it up, I'm just
Kathy said, when the apocalypse comes, one strokes will be the new currency.
It's
funny.
Oh, I don't know what's going to happen, you know, with going back, to be honest. What color? You know, I've got so many different colors. Look, this is my palette that I use just for double dips, so I can be really nice and messy. Okay, I'm going to use like a greeny blue.
Hi, Gabby.
Some here. I'm going to reload it just so I get some nice fresh ones at the sides. Again, you can add a small jewel there if you want it to. You don't have to. Or you can add a jewel instead of the double dip flowers in the middle. Or instead of the mermaid stencil, you can put a mermaid bling on there.
I think that's a beautiful design. It's really interesting.
On the job, I kind of make things up as I go.
Sure.
Like, you know, if I have like 30 kids, like they'll all have 30 different, you know, if they all want some sort of fairy or princessy design, they'll all have, you know, different colors or different blings, different decorations.
What brush were you using? What brush were you using for the double dip flowers?
The Enchanted Magic Wand face painting. It doesn't say any size on it, but it's like it's a paddle brush. It's got a really fine tip. Enchanted, yeah. There we go. So again, you can put chunky glitter. No, I'm not going to put it on because my girls have to wash their face off. So it makes it easier. Sure. I'm just going to leave that off. But yeah, this one is coming back. Okay.
And it's enchanted brushes. I don't see them in the United States anyway.
Yes. Yeah, I'm not sure who makes them, but I got it from Looney Bin. There's Looney Bin in Australia. When I went to the Australian Body Art Convention, they sold it there, and I thought, oh, I'll give it a try. All right.
And what paint were you using for the double dip flower?
Oh, they're all different makes. Like I couldn't possibly tell you. I mean, some of them are Superstar. Some of them are probably Global. You know, it's probably Fusion in there. I don't know. Just whatever. As long as it's like bright or dark, you know, it's gonna help bring out the colors over the white. Okay, let me see, what shall I do for this one? Right, I might start. So this one is more of a flower fairy. I'm going to start with using this one stroke from the Craze palette again. It's like a fire one stroke. And I'm going to use my 1/2 inch angled shader Aliyah. So I'm going to load it, but I don't want to have a ton of black on my tip. So I'm just getting just the very tip in the black. So essentially it's kind of like using a red, orange, yellow one stroke with, and then outlining in black. So doing some petals there. And then, so pointing towards that focal point again.
Just to make sure that your hand's not in front of the camera, please. We can't see exactly what you're doing.
Okay, so we'll let that dry for a little bit because I want to put some stencils over that as well. And then I'm going to use the pink one straight from the Craze palette.
Okay, great. That's a
And then
very
I'm
pretty
going to,
flower.
because it doesn't have a black on it, I'm going to dip just the tip of the bit that's closest to the dark edge. I'm going to dip it in a bit of black. So I'm not sure if you can see it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yep.
So pointing again towards my central focal point. I'm just going to freshen up my black on my brush again.
Yeah, let me ask a question to the group while you're painting. I just did a poll on the Zoom call, and of the people that were professional face painters, nobody has a gig at this point. Is that true for everybody that's watching on Facebook Live?
Yep, I don't have a gig.
Yep, it's
I think when it comes to face painting, I doubt really anyone that would have a gig right now, unless they're doing something like balloons,
yeah.
like for Mother's Day.
Yeah, I've heard some people doing delivery of balloons and things like that. We're actually having a webinar coming up. Yeah, just webinars for FacePaintcom. Yeah, well, there's that. There's that gig. I guess there's that gig.
Okay, so now
okay.
Stencil work in here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm using a glitter and gouache stencil. And I'm going to use a glitter and gouache. It's stenciled by a face painter that lives in Brisbane as well. So she's local to me. Fortunately. So I have a lot of her stencils. I love them. Okay, so I'm going to use the flower for the middle bit, and then I'm going to use these side ferny leaves for the edges, but I'm going to have them in different colors. There we go. So I'll let that bit dry. Now I'm going to get the green. Okay, I'm going to use my green for this one. So all I've used is a black, dark green, light green, and white one stroke. And I'm going to use my dauber and just run it across. So when I use a dauber, I usually spray it like twice. And then, okay, can you see it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So usually I would turn the light bit on the top because usually light hits the top and it's usually dark at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you see the line going around there. So I'm going to try and follow that. So when I use a stencil, and this is great because it's got one on each side, I don't have to clean it before I flip it, like I don't have to worry about flipping it. So I always try and remember how I've laid it on this side because I've got to remember that on the other side. Okay, so I'm going to go around with the light bit and then some of the dark green in the middle. And then sort of the blacky dark green towards the bottom. I'm getting dry.
So just try to keep your hand out of the camera if you can, just so people can see it. Okay.
I'm just going to load up again because it was a bit dry. Might be easier to see on this side.
Okay, good.
Let me see. Let me know how my angles are. Okay, I've got to go the green at the top.
Mm-hmm.
Angle, is that angle okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
There we go. And then I'm going to, let's see, do some white line work. Back to the American face painter brush. I'm going to use Wolf White again.
Mm-hmm.
And then I will finish off with some double dips.
Okay. Well, your daughters are remarkably patient.
She's not even being paid for this. She's being paid with love.
Well, she is trapped. That's the benefit of quarantine, isn't it?
Homeschool.
Homeschooled. Dear Lord.
Well, during this time, because they haven't gone back to school yet.
Yep.
Are your kids back at school?
They're doing sort of distance learning, which is like distantly learning.
Yeah, I mean, I think most of us, our kids are doing that.
Yeah, but I don't think they're learning all that much.
Now, when my brush goes over paint, I like to freshen it up.
So, Cindy asked, where I would love to sell that stencil here in the U.S. Who do I? Maybe I'll just contact. I'll message you, Elaine, to get their information.
So, she would be very, very happy for that.
Okay, good. Because we're starting a sort of a face painter marketplace thing, and stencils would be perfect for that kind of thing.
Yeah. And, stencils are pretty inexpensive to send overseas too, I think. Because they're so light, you can just fit them in an envelope, I reckon.
You have another week in Georgia? Yep.
Okay, so now I'm going to do my double dips again.
Mm-hmm. I really like your double dips. I think they're just fantastic.
When you say double dips, technically it's supposed to be white plus another color or two. I don't know. How do people define double dips? Do you have two colors over the white or just the one color? Because I would think that
it really is just a double dip. I think it's you dip it twice. It's pretty much a double dip. We all know what the effect you're trying to achieve.
I usually dip it like 3 or 4 times in different colors. Trying to make different combinations. Let's see what color I want to use on this one. Yellow. I might start with yellow. Add a bit of orange.
It might be good for them to see how they're doing the dip. How are you doing it?
Not sure it'll fit on the face. So you can see the white. You don't want to put too much yellow, and obviously every time you dip into it needs to be less and less and less. Otherwise, you just putting new colors over the existing one. Okay, so you can see the yellow and a bit of the orange over it. So it depends on how many dips you want to do. So if I want to do an extra one, so you can see I put a bit more orange in there, and then maybe the very tip, like a darker color. So I'm not sure what that one is. It's kind of like a wine, you know, one of the darkest reddy purple color. Okay, so, and even if you want it to, you can dip it in a bit of black just at the very tip. Let me see.
Lucy says the lockdown stopped there in France and the kids are going back to school tomorrow.
Some of the age groups have gone back to school, but my girls' age groups won't be going back for another 2 weeks.
Right. And
unless you're an
she says she
essential
only knows
worker.
Yeah, she said she only knows one face painter who has a contract signed for this summer, and it's a regular client.
Wow.
And that's
Lucky.
France, where things are better
Oh, good.
than in the United States.
It'll be great to know what's you know, what hygiene practices they have to, you know, if they have to do anything special once I've gone back.
Right.
So this is done.
That's beautiful.
Again, you can add some chunky glitter if you want to. You know, you can take off the stencil, add some jewels. Lots of different. I mean, my thing is either use a stencil or jewels or double dips, and then, you know, I either take things out or add them all on, you know, as much as I want to do it. It's all about adding extra bits and pieces to make it more elaborate. You know, add more eyeshadow, draw on some eyelashes. Depends on how much time you have.
Kathy said she really likes this rounded eye aesthetic, and the way you use it on a crowns. I think it's a beautiful design, and it really accentuates the eye.
Very flattering to have it. A lot of my designs have that because it brings. I mean, it outlines your eyebrows, lifts your eye up, and it sort of gives you that curve effect there as well. It just looks pretty. And also the thing is, when you're doing a design and you're using similar, how do I say it, steps, you don't have to think about new steps each time you do it. You're just changing bits of it. Like, okay, for example, I sometimes would do a rounded one stroke there, or like sort of a leaf shape, one stroke in the center. And then, you know, the strokes that come in would change. And instead of bringing the stroke in this way, I could do a leaf shape, or I can do like a rounded petal shape. Or you can do a double rounded petal shape. You know, there's so many different ways, but I tend to always keep this rounded bit here as a staple, and then change the middle bits up. And so you can use things like stencils like these to also outline the face, the eyebrows. And for me, using a double dips, like I don't really think very much, because it's one of the things that I do all the time. And just changing the colors, the combination of colors that you use changes the look. And then if you wanted to as well, you could put a bit of double dip petals down here as well, next to the inner eye, or add some further up here.
Okay, well, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've reached the end of our time. We're a little, we got like a few more minutes, but I think, we covered a lot. So I want to thank you, Elaine. I think this is great. Thank you for doing this. And we've got some upcoming webinars that everybody should know about. Next week, we have Sally Ann Lynch doing One Stroke Roses. We're also going to have 2 next week, because we're also going to have a Clown Antics one that we're going to also run through FacePaint.com. And it's not going to be on the Facebook page. It's going to be on Clown Antics Facebook page, but it will be on Zoom, and we'll have a posting on it on FacePaint.com. And this is creating a balloon delivery business for those that need to know that. And Marcella Bustamante is going to be Arm Designs on May 25th. And we got a bunch coming up, and go to our webinar page on FacePaint.com to see.
Some awesome artists coming up.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, you're a big fan of this stuff, so I appreciate you watching it all this time, and I appreciate you doing this. It's very sweet of you, and thank your daughters for us, because yeah, Charlotte and Isabel are remarkable for just sitting there and putting up with all of us watching all the glory of your mother's art. Yes, yes. Well, thank you very much, everybody, and thank you for joining us. And have a good evening. And as always,
thanks,
stay
everyone.
safe.
Hope everyone's nice and sane. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Elaine. Bye-bye.
Bye.